let's get to our first piece of news. And that first piece of news is about Edge's return. Now, this does mean... Shut up, chat. This does mean one more date in the calendar taken up for Edge, which means that we're looking at his original 5, so it was supposed to be a 5 wrestling matches per year contract. He owed, I believe, 3 from last year, and he has so far wrestled 4 this year. This will be the 5th. That leaves SummerSlam, and that leaves the Saudi Arabia show to take up the 7. That's 7. If he had 3 left from last year, he's got 1 left, probably for around Survivor Series time, for a big draw match there. I say around Survivor Series time, I don't expect it'll actually be Survivor Series. Or they'll save that one for next year, have him in the Rumble again, and we'll work it out that way. So Edge has returned. A large part of the reasoning for this, originally he was supposed to be out of the picture until SummerSlam. A large part of the reasoning for this is because there's no faces left on SmackDown. There's no good guys left. Daniel Bryan, who has since left, has already feuded with Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens, who is apparently taking a break, has already feuded with Roman Reigns. So who's left? You've got Cesaro, who's already feuded with Roman Reigns. The only option then is Shinsuke Nakamura, who then feuds with Roman after SummerSlam. Outside of the draft, which we know there's going to be a draft, and Drew McIntyre is definitely a heavy favourite to come across and feud with Roman, Nakamura is basically the only option left, outside, of course, of a return for Edge. The Rey Mysterio feud apparently just didn't capture the attention, and there is apparently some real injuries going on, though they're not long-term, that are keeping the Mysterios out of the picture at this moment. They will eventually be feuding with Jay and Jimmy, and I suspect that Usos versus Mysterios match will be coming at SummerSlam. But with this in mind, Jimmy Uso not in any position to feud with Roman. They nicked that idea when it came to Jimmy lifting up Roman's arm when it came to the match against Roman. So there's been a lot going on in the Universal title picture. With nobody left to face Roman, they reached out for Edge, and Edge did return. A large part of the reason why they ran out of faces to feud is because they didn't extend certain feuds. The Daniel Bryan feud was extended because everyone loved what was going on there. Daniel Bryan worked his way into that main event of WrestleMania and really proved to a lot of people that he could carry that. Kevin Owens, the same. They extended that feud because it was so beloved. Jey Uso has openly, out on the record, said it was supposed to be a one-and-done match and Roman wasn't supposed to be at Hell in a Cell. But then they had the Hell in a Cell match as well because the match was so well received by the fans. So we've had a lot of people who have been well received, the feuds have extended. The exception is Cesaro. Cesaro has been the exception. Backstage, apparently the response to the Roman Reigns versus Cesaro feud was best described as tepid, otherwise recognised as bad. Not very excited, not very enthused. People apparently just weren't really behind Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. So it was next. It is becoming more and more likely that the draft will feature a lot of faces coming across from Raw. Drew McIntyre is the obvious top choice, but there's also a number of other people who would come across as faces as well from slightly lower down the card. I'm looking at you, Damian Priest. I'd definitely expect Damian Priest as someone that we could consider, as well as, of course, Keith Lee, if Keith Lee is cleared and ready by that point. Eleanor says, as regards Edge, I don't know about anyone else, but Edge's return was so unexpected for me. I loved it. She suggests Seth Rollins could be one to go up against Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins is still technically a heel. I don't think he's quite in the right position for that. I'd like to see it again. I just don't think the positioning is quite right for it. I think it's more likely now, honestly, that Seth Rollins goes back to Raw in exchange for Drew McIntyre. Brandon says, I was glad Edge's return wasn't spoiled in advance. Too many damn things get spoiled these days. Me too. I was personally very surprised. I had no information on this. But I never get much information on Edge, let's be honest. Brandon also says, it was good to be genuinely surprised by something again in WWE in a good way. Ricky H22, welcome to the show, suggests what about Big E to feud with Roman? Certainly still possible. Big E at the moment, admittedly he is in the Money in the Bank match. There'll be a little bit more news on that later. But he's also in a bit of creative hiatus because the person he was supposed to be feuding with ain't there no more. Aleister Black was supposed to be feuding with Big E going into Money in the Bank and potentially into SummerSlam where they'd have their one-on-one match. And things just haven't worked out in that regard. So Big E's kind of lost in the wilderness. There are, of course, rumours that Big E's returning to Raw as someone who could pop up as a replacement for Drew McIntyre in that main event scene. take on Bobby Lashley and really fit that mold. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like there's any plan for Big E to feud with Roman. Ilana says, am I the only one that would prefer Big E versus Bobby Lashley rather than Big E versus Roman? You're not. I actually think it's a better story with Big E versus Lashley, particularly right now. Particularly with the fact that Bobby Lashley has assaulted Xavier Woods, that he's likely to do the same to Kofi Kingston. Big E being moved across after SummerSlam and becoming that opponent, that works brilliantly for me. Brandon says, I was surprised he didn't pull out the Goldberg card to face Roman, but I'm very glad we got Edge instead. They still could, but with Goldberg only planned for 2 matches this year, he is being saved for Saudi Arabia for his second match, to my knowledge. We could, of course, still have another one, but they're trying to save at least a couple of top draw part-timers, particularly when you consider that John Cena does not want to go to Saudi Arabia, even though he's been contacted already. And Jake Quick says, the fact that Money in the Bank won't have 2 of the 3 guys fighting tonight is surprising. Well, it depends what you mean by surprising in that regard. So that's everything I had to cover as regards the return of Edge.